everyone. I know a lot of people always, have questions when it comes to APA. And so what I decided to do was I decided to create a screencast based on just some major issues that I noticed that a lot of students have with APA format. And of course, we use APA formats in our class. So this particular screencast, I'm just going to go over some of the basic elements of APA that include your in-text citations. And then on the next screencast, I'll go ahead and I will discuss the references. So let me get to this slide here. Okay. So this slide pretty much covers the basics of APA. Now remember, your in-text citation is when you include or when you add credit for the source in your document. So another phrase for this could be parenthetical citation, because they are in parentheses. But for the most part, you have two ways in which you have to cite your sources: the in-text citation and the full text citation, which is your reference page. So the in-text citation should immediately come after your direct quote, which is when you are quoting from a source verbatim, which means word for word, or when you are paraphrasing. So even if you're taking a quote from a source and you are putting the information in your own words, you still have to give credit to the source. And I will talk about the differences when it comes to giving credit to a paraphrase versus a direct quote. So if you're able to locate an author's last name, author or authors, sometimes you will have, more than one author for a source. Last name only, the year of publication, and your page number. But you only need page numbers for direct quotes. So here is an example of how that in-text citation would look. Thompson, comma, space 2007, comma, space, P for page. You only need P for page and it should be lowercase, a period, and then we have the page number 345. So this is a great source because I'm able to locate all of the necessary information that I need for my in-text citation. Now, you only need page numbers for direct quotes only. So this example right here would be an example of a paraphrase in-text citation. So all you need are the Thompson for last name, and then 2007 is the year of publication. So these are the two basic in-text citations for direct quotes and paraphrases. And always remember that within that sentence, the period comes after the in-text citation. The rule is when you're doing block quotes. Okay, so that's the exception to the rule, is that you are to include the period directly after the sentence, and then you include your in-text citation, because block quotes are separated from the rest of the paragraph, so you can differentiate between, the period placement. And the final example I have on this page is what we call a signal phrase. According to Thompson, is the signal phrase. Signal phrases work well within your essays because they provide a smooth transition of the quote or even paraphrase. So without this, it would just be a drop quote. And sometimes, your audience is wondering, well, who stated this? So it's always best to include a signal phrase within your essays, just for a better flow of ideas. However, if you're going to include a signal phrase, then what you would need to do is immediately after you introduce the author, the organization, the title of the article, is you are to put the year of publication in parentheses. You add your comma, and then you add your direct quote, or you add your paraphrase. And then if it's a direct quote, you have to put the page number following the sentence, or the quote itself. So P345. So this is another way of incorporating your in-text citations within your essay. For the most part, it's probably the best way, but never feel like you have to include, signal phrases. I teach it to my students so that you can see the difference, and just dropping a quote with no warning, versus signaling that this author stated this. Okay, and so there are other questions that students have when they are missing information. So let's say you do not locate, or you cannot, locate a year of publication for websites, a year of copyright, then you're to put ND for no date. And that needs to be in lowercase, and you do need the periods to separate the letters. So let's assume that you cannot locate an author's last name, or any authors for your source. Then you are to replace the author's names with the title of that article. The exception to that rule are government sources. So let's say it's the Department of Transportation, the .gov, or the Department of Education or Energy or what have you. Then you are to place those names first, and then continue with your citation. You can definitely, shorten or provide the acronym for the government organization. And if you have a long title, you can definitely shorten the title. So like, for example, here, Going Home will be a shortened version of the entire title. Make sure you have at least 2 words there, because when we go to the reference page, we have to make sure, everything coincides. So let's say your title starts with one of the articles, which means the, a, or an. Always make sure that you add that second word. So the dog. And then, we'll talk about reference pages, but you will alphabetize based upon the D versus the T for the, and you will alphabetize based on D for dog. Here, of course, going, you will alphabetize this source based upon this word, because it's not an article word. And the title of the article should always come in quotation marks. ND for no date. And then if you cannot locate page numbers, which is the, pretty much, the thing when you are using websites, there are no page numbers. So you will have to count paragraphs. And it should be formatted just the way it is here. So this particular citation is missing authors' names, dates, and page numbers. And let me just say this. If you do run across a source like this, while we have ways of citing, of course, as I have provided here, you want to, pretty much avoid those kind of sources. You want to avoid those kind of sources because we question the credibility, the accuracy, the relevancy, the validity of sources like that when you're missing all of this kind of information. Okay, so again, I have provided you with some basics when it comes to the in-text citation. So always remember to cite immediately after you directly quote or paraphrase. I hope you were able to gain something from this short presentation.